doorbell at Jimmy's house. Now, when you come to my house, my doorbell sounds like this.
Hey, welcome to the People's Weekly. I'm Tim Best Buds, and I'm here with Canadian Glenn. What's going on, Glenn?
It's cold where I am.
It's cold where I am, just not as cold.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure.
your cold is like my room temperature, probably.
Yeah. So, is there a view up here coming soon?
Wednesday, March 6th.
Wednesday, March 6th. That's next Wednesday, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all new view up here. We've been waiting a long time for that, so that's good news.
Yeah, well, I mean, I said no shows in February. February's over. Shows are back.
Praise the Lord.
Well, no, don't bring that fucking guy into it.
Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties at first, but I think they're worked out, so hopefully everyone hears us okay. Just a quick reminder, we have a YouTube channel, and we're going to start having at least 1 video to 2 videos a week. Plus, I have like 6 or 8 months of backlog on videos that I'm going to start dropping. So go to YouTube, People's Radio United, youtube.com/People's Radio United, and subscribe to the channel and click that little bell so you know when we drop the videos. And there's going to be a lot of stuff coming there soon. So please do that, everyone listening. And I'm still working on the next Music to Riot to. That'll be coming real soon. And the People's Weekly, just so everybody knows and remembers, we haven't really talked about it in a while, but you could always submit if you have something you need to say that needs to be said, or get it out to, get something out, some information. Just contact us through our website, peoplesradiounited.com, and send us an audio file, or we'll help you produce it and get your message out so it can be heard. That's the People's Voice, not the People's Weekly. I don't know what I was saying right there. I'm kind of tired. But yeah, that's what the People's Voice is for. It's for any activist who has something important to say to be able to say it and get it released, so other people could hear it. So please, if that's something that you've been needing, go ahead and do that. We've had a few people on it, but I think we need a lot more people on there. We need everyone's voice heard. That's why we're People's Radio. You're the people, so it's there for you guys if you need it. And with that said, anything else, Glenn, before we get into the show?
Remember, everyone, you're a people too.
We're all a people. So yeah, today's show we're going to talk about Ed Buck, a Democratic donor who's had 2 black gay men die inside his home and hasn't been charged. We're going to talk about something I witnessed personally last week, where the police didn't show up to a sweep, a homeless encampment sweep, and it turned out really good. It was way more positive than when the police show up. We're going to talk about the Michael Cohen testimony and how it may or may not affect Donald Trump. And we're going to talk about over 1,000 children that were sexually abused in detention centers over the past 4 years under Democratic and Republican regimes. Immigrant children in detention centers. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I guess we can get started with Ed Buck. Ed Buck is a super wealthy white donor to the Democratic Party who is now, I say, murdered by lethally injecting crystal meth into 2 gay black men, Gemmel Moore and Timothy Dean. Both men died inside of Ed Buck's West Hollywood home, And the question is, why is Ed Buck still free and not in jail like any other person who did this? They'd be called at least, it would be at least, it would be murder of some kind, maybe involuntary or something, involuntary manslaughter instead of murder. But if it was anybody else who wasn't rich and wasn't a big Democratic donor who had run for the West Hollywood City Council and a bunch of other things, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be free right now, or they'd at least be in a lot of trouble.
Well,
you haven't heard a lot about this, Glenn, right?
No, I've basically heard nothing about it up here. But I mean, there's a lot of issues here. It's not just, obviously these are homicides. You know, I mean, people who know what homicide means, it means a non-natural death. So, I mean, you know, whether they're going to do anything about it's another issue. But I mean, where are the drug charges? Where's a lot of things, you know? I mean, never mind the deaths themselves. This guy is allowed to shoot meth.
Well, in all fairness, yeah, the drug charges, that was something I was questioning too when I first heard about it a while back. But I think, I'm not sure which, I think it was Gemmel was the one he had injected methamphetamines into it and he died. The other victim, they haven't released the cause of death yet, supposedly. So that's my understanding. But I'm pretty sure, I mean, it was something kind of related. Most people don't, I've never had even one person die in my house. I mean, it happens, I'm sure, like, you know, natural causes or whatever, sometimes things happen, but to have two people die in your house, that's kind of odd. And one of them you assisted in his death, for sure, and the other one, I'm pretty sure is pretty much the same thing, something along those lines.
Well, I mean, it's a lifestyle issue too. I mean, Ed Buck is extremely well known for being a politically active gay man in Arizona, in California. This is something that, you know, he's visible with, which is fine, but then to have two gay black men die inside his home, this, you know, I mean, you can use the anything can happen, but lightning don't strike twice. Like, come on. This just doesn't seem right. And like I said to you before we went on air, where's the state of California in this? Where's the goddamn district attorney for LA County? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we talked about this one, was it last week or the week before, how political parties in general, but in this case we're talking about the Democrats again, will turn a blind eye to things if it's people that are their donors or politicians, you know, that are in office for their party. And Republicans obviously do the same thing. It's really sickening. So, I mean, yeah, like you said, at least drug charges. This guy should have had something. But we also know that the criminal justice system in the United States is set up where wealthy people have it a lot easier than non-wealthy people. And whiter people have it a lot easier than non-whiter people. I know I said that wrong, but you know what I meant.
Well, I mean, this is the issue, though. I mean, this is what's wrong with corporate media. They, at their discretion, when they decide to do things this way, it's like, oh, well, yeah, another gay black man is found dead in Ed Buck's home. Now sports. But the issue is, where is the district attorney? Oh, is he politically ambitious? Is he tied to the Democratic Party of California or the United States? I mean, where are these questions? Why does nobody give a shit about it? This is the thing that blows my mind. It's like, okay, somebody in power wants to pull a trick, fuck around, fine. But we see it, and we're going to keep asking questions. That just doesn't happen now.
Yeah, well, I mean, as always in Los Angeles, you have a small group of people, activists, and they've been out in front of Ed Buck's house protesting, and they're the people that have pretty much kept this thing alive, where people are still knowing about it, and small groups of people are up in arms about it. But it's like, yeah, you're right. Where is the mass outrage? This isn't so many things, not just this. Like,
Are these people protesting? Are they involved in the L.A. Alternate lifestyle community? Is that why they're there? Because
I'm
he's
sure
killing
some
gay
are.
men?
I mean, it's activists generally are a mix of people. There's gay activists, non-gay activists, black activists, white activists, Latino activists, Native activists. And they all have their separate issues, and they all get together to support those issues as well as issues. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah.
This is a gay thing. This is a black thing. This is a human thing. This is just, it's one of those.
I see that, but that's good for solidarity, for common cause. But the reason I ask is because just last year, and it's gone on into this year with sentencing, etc., in the city of Toronto, the gay community in Toronto had been bitching to the Toronto Police Service for years that there was a serial killer on the loose targeting gay male prostitutes. And for years, the police basically did nothing about it. And then almost like accident, a middle-aged white landscaper got arrested. And they started checking all these different properties where he had landscaping contracts. And they found body parts and bones and DNA from like 6 or 7 gay men who had disappeared. And then boom, here's your freaking serial killer. They've been talking about it for years. And the cop said, oh, no, it's not happening. And the guy pleaded guilty, the whole deal. It's like, yeah, I did it, whatever. He led him to a few more. This had been going on for a long, long time. And it just, wasn't politically advantageous, I guess, to do anything about it. So, I mean, that's why I ask, because if it's gay activists outside of Ed Buck's home, then they know something. That's a message.
Well, I have to look it up. There was a quote from the last guy that died at his house, or that he murdered. Something about don't trust Ed Buck, stay away from him or something. And then he still was caught in his house. So like he didn't heed his own advice. I don't know if I can find it this quick. But yeah, people know, like, something, this dude. And who knows, there might be more situations where things like this happen that we don't know about with Ed Buck, But as far as the guy in Canada you were just talking about, I think the another reason is that they were sex workers, and those people are really never taken seriously. So you have gay sex workers, is probably, especially years ago, they're probably taken less seriously than anybody else, which is tragic because that meant the serial killer had it easier. He was able to do stuff and nobody's believing that he even existed,
Well, I mean, just when he finally got caught and he decided to cooperate, and he just gave them addresses, and there would be some residential street in a decent neighborhood, pretty much 100% whitey, and the forensics vans would pull up and the yellow tents would go up, and there'd be a knock on the door and say, okay, we're going to completely fucking rip up your yard for about a week. And they would find human remains. So, I mean, in plain sight or what? and all the cops, in my opinion, had to do was even listen to some of because the guy who confessed had been named to the Toronto police years earlier. And he regularly came up in these conversations. And they just always said, well, yeah, you got nothing, we're not going to go hassle this guy. So It's just refusal to act causes more innocent deaths. And somebody should be held accountable for it. But of course, nobody will.
Definitely. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about it. Yeah, it's just, you think what people get arrested for. Just last night I was filming the police. They were harassing. I only released half the video because Twitter only lets you release a little bit, and they started trying to really intimidate me and get all in my face. But like, before, the part you didn't see in the video I released was they were just harassing this black dude in the street that was coming out of a club. And then they finally see me with the camera there and kept saying hello, hello. You know, they now the police are trained to wave at the camera, say have a nice day, and say hello and do all this stuff, like little trained monkeys, but at a circus doing what they're told. But that's what cops are. But anyway, so they're doing all that little stuff. They finally let the first guy go, no incident. And this other black dude was parking kind of right in front of him. Obviously, he wasn't worried about him. He parked right in front, or he's getting ready in his car, getting ready to leave. I mean, not parking, but he's parked in front of him, where the police undercover quote unquote car was. And they just, before he got in his car, they walk over to him and start asking him all these questions. So that's what started getting him mad. I was already filming. I'm like, so what? Now you're just any random black dude in the street, you're going to harass him? Is that what you're doing? And then the cop started shining his light and getting me agitated, and they started trying to escalate the situation and threaten, and, you know, act threatening toward me. But I'm not intimidated. I've been through it all before. Worst thing they'd do is lock me in a cage or kill me. Oh well. But it was just ridiculous. Like one black dude, the next black dude, and this guy. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is like the system isn't set up to really care about black people or gay people for that matter. Then you add both of those together.
Yeah.
It just helps his Ed Buck's situation as far as getting away with stuff, on top of the multi-millionaire status and Democratic donor and well-known. You know what I mean? It's the whole system.
Yeah, but that's why, in my opinion, it gets to roll this way, is because there's no longer any accountability. There's no longer any follow-up. You know, like I said, you know, another man dies at Ed Buck's house. Now sports. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And the press has historically had a huge involvement with getting justice, and they just aren't concerned with it anymore.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do. I mean, I stuff like this. It's like, what can we do? You could put pressure on politicians, but they don't care really. I'm afraid, unfortunately, that something else tragic is going to have to happen. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's always fun until somebody loses an eye. You know, I mean,
or somebody big enough with, you know, like some celebrity or something needs to bring it into the public's attention. Because, like, you never really heard about him before, and a lot of people haven't. Even people in LA don't know who Ed Buck is. I'm sure that's by design. He's not all over the news 24/7 like anybody else would be if this had happened. At some random poor guy's house, 2 people turn up dead.
Well, like I said before we went on air, it's there's got to be another factor here besides this guy having some money. You know, maybe it's what's inside his head that keeps him out of jail, not necessarily his bank account.
Yeah, you had mentioned the position he's in made it possible, maybe where he knows he has information that could do some damage to some people. Maybe, I don't know. That's speculation, but it makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does make sense. Because even when there's an asshole that the media has decided, no, we're not going to go to bat for them, and they have money, they still don't go out of their way to inform people, but you get it from their attitude that, you know, I wish something more would come out of this, you know, as opposed to them actually doing their job and finding it themselves. And then there's some people that they just, like I said, you know, now sports is he's okay. He's on our team. So next story.
Yeah.
That's weird.
That's how it works, I guess.
But I mean, you know, that's the first thing that I always think when shit like this goes down. Okay, so he's not being punished or held to account. Who is supposed to be punishing or holding to account? That's the next place I go look. Never mind the guy who did the crime. Who won't prosecute? What's the issue there?
Yeah, I'm sure they have some BS excuse, you know.
Yeah, well, then that's when you start digging because, you know, I mean, we've seen this time and time again, whether it involves sexual orientation or fidelity or drug use or whatever. Sometimes it takes an accident and everything breaks open. Sometimes it takes years after the facts till the reality comes out. But it's usually because somebody involved in the opposition who's responsible for either enforcing this or putting people away, they're on the same team as the people breaking the law. So, you know, because shit don't happen in a vacuum.
Yeah, that's that's real. I don't know what else to say about this. It's despicable that they let this kind of stuff happen. There's no justice. You know, these two dudes' families don't have their sons, or you know, and this guy's just, I don't know. It doesn't even seem like he's worried about anything. But yeah, anything else on that before we move on, Glenn?
Well, if he ain't worried, that should be a big enough clue right there, because who the hell wouldn't be worried with two people dying in your own goddamn house? You know? I mean, come on. So I'm just curious, does Ed Buck have video on a couple LAPD commanders? You know, like, what's the deal here?
I don't know. Don't know what he has or whatever, but yeah, something is off here. I don't know.
That's why we get to speculate.
Tim and Glenn, the speculators. So yeah, this week earlier, I mean, if people watch my live stream sometimes on Twitter, you'll see that the police pretty much once every couple of weeks will raid this homeless encampment under the freeway overpass. And they'll come with a lot of force, searching people's stuff. They've snatched a lady's tent from her before and threw it in the trash while she was crying, like, that's my home. You know, they just come in there and they're laughing and they don't even care. It's a horrible situation. But this week, if you see my live stream, it's really short. Something amazing happened. The city of Los Angeles did a routine cleanup under an overpass where the homeless people live, but the difference this time was there were no police. And I noticed the people were happier. The cleanup went more smoothly than usual. Nobody's rights were violated by these armed thugs. And like I said, to me, this is just more proof that police are not needed in most situations. If there's not a gun-wielding maniac, you don't need to call the police generally. But yeah, I saw some commotion going on, so I walked over there because I got a call that some police had come earlier. 2 cops came and just talked to some people about something. I don't even know what. But then they left. And then the trash trucks came and they brought portable toilet for people to use. That's something I've been complaining about. But there was a group this time there that hadn't been there before. It was called LA Street Watch or Street Watch LA. and there were some activists, and they were going around helping people get their stuff out the way so the city could clean up and drop off their portable toilet and all that. And they were cool. I had exchanged information with them. It's just they said they had a website, and I think I took down the wrong website. But they might be doing a show with us soon. But regardless, another lady was there. I think she was loosely connected to this LA Street Watch, and she said she had been homeless in downtown for like 15 years and finally got out of that situation. So she was bringing food to people. And it was so much nicer just to see people helping people and people bringing stuff for the people. And the cleanup crews being respectful to the people. Where do you want the portable toilet? Let's get your stuff moved around the corner so we can clean up and you can move your stuff back. Unlike the police that are saying, we don't want to see you back here. If you come back again, you'll be arrested, threatening people with idle threats. It's just like a whole nother world. And, if someone has to be living on the streets, I think it's a lot better to do stuff like this where there's dignity and there's not threats of arrest and guns around and, intimidating gangbanger cops standing over people ominously while they're getting their stuff together, telling them to hurry up. It was just a way better situation. And I don't know, like I said on Twitter, if the government of the United States doesn't want to take the simple, easy steps to end homelessness, and the least they can do is do stuff like this and not have the police involved, because it was a whole nother world here, Glenn, a whole nother world.
Well, again, kind of related to the way I view the first topic, what's changed? Where did this group come from? And this isn't just something that a watch commander says, oh, well, today we're not, we're just not going to be there. This something had to happen. Either it was a local business association or...
There was, just real quick, there was some, I don't know if he's a politician or what, some dude standing around there talking between the group and the cleanup people. He might have been like an administrator. So he was the only guy there in the suit with some kind of city badge on. But I was so happy about the cleanup. I didn't want to instigate anything or do anything. There was no police. I'm there to protect people from the police. You know what I mean? I was happy. I didn't have to do anything. I streamed for it was a very short stream because I don't want to invade people's privacy. The only reason I stream when the police are there is to keep the people as safe as I can, because the police act way different when there's cameras than when there's not. But yeah, that I don't know if this dude had something, like maybe the activist group had contacted someone at the city and said, let's work this out like this. I don't know. I've never seen any of these people before except for the cleanup people, but it was a whole nother world without the police there, man. It was just it was tolerable, I guess would be the word, Well,
I mean, this sounds to me like this is an administrative decision that changed things that day somewhere along the line. Because, like I said, I mean, especially in a place like LA, the cops know what their party calls are and they don't miss them. So for them to not be called, that's a decision somewhere up the line. So that's great. I hope it continues. And whoever is behind it needs to be thanked and supported, I would say.
Yeah, I'm not trusting. I'm still going to stake it out in the mornings when I get a chance. The mornings are most likely to come. But yeah, I wish I had more information on how this happened and what changed, because that could happen in a lot of other places. And maybe I'll look into it. Maybe I'll start talking to more people. Maybe I could start by contacting this guy from the LA Street Watch, and asking him, and I could report back on another show, another time, if I find anything out.
I'm just curious, would Patty know anything about this?
No, it's not in her area.
Okay.
You know what? No, because she knew about this and she hasn't. I don't think so. Yeah, I think this is something just in this area in the, the Pacific Division Police Department area, because that's who usually shows up. But whatever it is, they need to. I mean, it could be better, of course. We don't want people to be having to be homeless, but in this current situation, it's better not to have the police come if they're not needed. It was so, man, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, the whole vibe was just way different. Nobody was upset. Everyone was just kind of working together, helping the city clean up. Oh, I want this. I don't want this. Throw this. I mean, it wasn't, the police don't give you a choice. You have so many minutes or we're going to take all your stuff and throw it in that trash truck. We don't care if it's your home. We don't care if it's the only stuff you have.
Yeah.
And we're going to search it for drugs first. That's what they get with the police,
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is way better.
That's good.
I would like to say my filming and harassing the police has something to do with it, but I'm sure it had nothing to do with it. But either way, I hope I don't have to film them down there in a situation like the norm has been anymore. I hope this becomes the norm, at least,
Yeah.
People helping people working with the city to clean up, the city bringing portable toilets and dumpsters so people don't have to throw trash on the street or don't have to use a restroom on the street because they have a facility to do that. Way better. So yeah, I guess with that said, we can move on. Or anything else on that, Glenn?
Well, no, it just kind of reminds me of something that has been an issue in the past where I live. There are certain parts of our town, especially in the summer tourist season, that congregate more homeless. And there was always an issue of sanitary facilities. And for the longest time, it was basically a chain reaction. We're not going to let you come into our businesses to use facilities. There are no public facilities in the area. So if you people have to take a shit, go to another neighborhood. And that's not realistic, as everybody knows. And then it ran into the issue of, people having to go in alleys or whatever. Then it became a game of tag with people purposely, either filming or calling in people relieving themselves. And then they get taken off to jail and blah, blah, blah. And then it was the business owners could say, see, look, these people are all criminals. We can't have them around here, by criminalizing them, basically.
Yeah.
And then a few years ago, there was a little bit of a change in the leadership for the business group. And it was like, okay, how much has everybody's insurance gone up in the last 3 or 4 years? How much does it cost to either build a permanent public facility or even long-term rentals of portable facilities? Which one costs less? So that's what they did. They went to work with the city, and there was some city money and some business association money and whatever, and they built a permanent, like 10 stall for male and female washroom, which is kept in good shape at all times. Tourists use it, homeless use it, everybody uses it. Everybody has to take a shit. Like, wake up, people. And it's become a feature of the neighborhood. And of course, since it's there, there's nobody squatting in the alleys. There's no, and wow, look what happens. You don't try and ostracize people. You actually do something that helps them, and everybody wins. My God, what a shock.
Speaking of that and PM Beers, a while back we were in Venice doing this, handing out burritos to homeless people, and with the whole group of people. But she got really excited. I don't know, I'm probably going to get the story wrong. so she can correct me and I'll retract the statement. But I think there was some activist, a homeless dude, that had been fighting for years. Like, we need a place to use a restroom. We need a place to use a restroom. And they had these really nice, kind of like the, the movie set portable toilets they have.
Like
they had some of these set up. And this was like late at night, like at maybe 11, 12, midnight maybe. And they had people out there, I guess, that were paid or volunteer, I don't know, but they had like people on shifts that would stand out there, give you towels and stuff, like soap or whatever you need when you're coming out. And I believe they were also security to make sure nobody messed up the restrooms,
Mm-hmm.
But somebody, I believe this guy fought a lot of years, and finally they won and got these restrooms invented. And it seems like such a small thing, just to add some bathrooms that are open 24 hours for people to use. But it is such a big thing. It's so important. Like imagine if you lived in your house and they just cut the bathroom off. You didn't have a bathroom. They took it away.
Yeah.
Where are you going to go? It's going to be inconvenient. Wouldn't it be nice to have a place outside to go, somewhere? Because you're talking about people that don't have anything. They don't have walls. They don't have rooms. They don't have restrooms. So to give them something it gives you dignity again, back to dignity. People aren't squatting in the streets, They can have privacy. They don't have to have people watching them use the restroom. I think a lot of people take for granted a lot of small things. Like just, using the bathroom. Everybody's like, oh, it's so easy. You just walk in there. But some people don't have a restroom to walk into. And it's illegal. The police, like you said, they'll criminalize you for stuff like that. It's it's a big thing. And yeah, but like I said, yeah, Patty was so happy about that. She was like rejoicing that finally they got these restrooms. So yeah, it can be done. It's just, I think sometimes it makes the city and the state more money to lock people up than to help them out,
Mm-hmm. But that's just it. It's not about results. It's about fucking politics. That's the problem with just about everything.
Yeah. So yeah, let's move on. This week, Donald Trump's longtime lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen has been testifying before Congress about crimes that Donald Trump and the Trump Organization most likely were involved in. Will any of this be enough to end Trump's presidency or even hurt Trump in any small way? Seems doubtful to me.
Well, how much worse does it have to get? Everybody hears all these things and nobody does anything. So, the only thing about Cohen, I didn't really pay much attention to the reports of what Cohen said. What I paid attention to were the people who have had to go against Cohen for all these years, what they're saying. And I find that a lot more interesting. And, there's a lot of lawyers who have said, I fought Cohen lots of times. He's an arrogant son of a bitch. He doesn't have a problem with saying whatever he needs to say at any time because that's the type of lawyer he is. He's a son of a bitch. And I said, to see him now, it's not the same guy. Like, he's completely through the ringer. There's nothing left. It's almost like, well, it is. It's a professional deathbed. And
he looks so pathetic on there, like such a little.
Well,
look like he's about to cry all the time. Whoa.
Well, that's what happens when you lead a career where you're built up and people buy the bullshit that you sell. It becomes a way of life. That's how things work. I win. Fuck you. And then suddenly that's all gone. And I just think that's the more interesting thing. That tells me more about the entire circle of the orange idiot than anything else. They're all the same type of person. They all need to be in control, in charge. Nobody can tell me what the fuck to do. They don't think about how ridiculously wrong everything they do is because there's no consequences. But then, when it's all taken away, that's it. They're done. They're like a puppy that gets dropped off in the woods. They just don't have a clue because everything's gone. So, I think it looks good on him, but I think that's a bigger indication that what he's saying, for once, is the truth. Because his change of personality is so pronounced. He's not playing a game.
Well, he has nothing really to lose. I mean, he's not, he's already got charged. He's got to do the time. Like he could have just went to jail and said, screw this. And they probably would have tried to subpoena him maybe. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of what he said is true. I mean, it's pretty much common knowledge Trump has lived his whole life as a criminal. What most people who are poor would go to prison for, he's gotten away with time and time again to finding loopholes and just paying his way out of things. But these Republicans are saying you can't be trusted, Cohen. You're a arch criminal and you're a liar and all this and that, and they shouldn't even be questioning you. But then I sit there and I think, like in any criminal organization, like a mafia family or something, that's what happens. They find one dude is one slimy snitch, and he rolls over to try to get something, you know what I mean? And that's kind of how it works. And that's what the Trump corporation is. It's a
racket.
Yeah, it's like organized crime. It's like literally a criminal family, a crime family, but they're actually related. It's not just a mafia term. I mean, we've said this before on the show. He acts like a wannabe mob guy. Like if you wanted a stereotypical mobster that wasn't like 100% Italian, you'd find Trump. He would act like that. Like the wannabe mob guy in the movie that everyone laughs at.
Well, I think the RICO statutes were made for the Trump enterprises. But I mean, again, we've seen it how many times? Trump University, Trump this, Trump that. It's all a fucking scam and a pyramid scheme, and it falls. And he bitches and complains and says he'll fight everybody, and then he settles. And somehow bills get paid, and that's it. Nothing changes. It's just the next one. I mean, that's why these people that say that Trump is a perfect end point to where America's been going for so long, that's stuff like that. I think that's where it's really demonstrated. I mean, think if Trump was this kind of businessman in the days of Eisenhower. He would have been out of business a long time ago. Nobody would have anything to do with him. But that's not how shit works these days.
Yeah. I mean, even the media, a lot of them, they won't call him a liar. They won't call him a racist. I watched this woman, these great Democrats, quote unquote. She was interviewing, I don't remember what her name was. She's one of the super cool new Democrats everyone says is going to save us. But she basically, I get, they called in some woman that's a Republican person who they said because Trump knows her, she's not racist. So she says, you're using a black woman as a prop, and that's racist. And then the Republican congressman, like, how dare her call me racist? I want to stop right here. He goes, everyone's seen it, this whole ordeal. And then she backs down. Oh, no, I didn't call you a racist. I don't understand that. Why do these people, everything they do, they back down, they apologize. that other woman who was talking about Israel's crimes against Palestine, and I want to offer an apology. That's it's just weak, man. It's weak sauce. Like, you stand by what you say, but that's what politicians are. Democrats, Republicans, all of them. They say one thing, mean another, do another, lie. I mean, you're going to tell a dude he's racist, and then as soon as he challenges you, say, no, I didn't mean you're racist. I didn't say you were racist. She should have said, you damn right I said you racist. You want me to say it? You want me to say it again? Racist. I don't get it. Like, why don't they stick to their guns? It's just cowardice, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I mean, that's also a byproduct of the media world we live in. Now, most times, especially by the right, they know it's a lie when they say it, but they're first out of the gate. They tell a lie right off the bat before anybody else can speak. And it gets out there. And then even if they retract it, nobody remembers a retraction. Everybody remembers the lie. And in a political world that's all about feels, not facts, you're just fishing for your choir, and that's how people get traction. They tell all the idiots what the idiots want to hear, and the idiots respond with support.
I don't know, because if I was her, I would have kept it going. When that black congressman said, he's my best friend, so I know he's not racist, I'm like, what does that mean? Okay, he's your best friend. How many other regular, non-rich, non-congressman black people he kicking it with all the time that are his close friends? Probably not many. I mean, you have to. I don't know. These people. It's like, if I had gone to a Trump rally and some dude standing there with the NSM Nazi flag, and I call him a racist, and he's like, I'm not a racist, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call. What kind of crap is that, man? No, you're a racist. Screw you. You have a problem with that? You're still a racist. I don't care. That's all. You know what I mean? I call it like it is. I hate that they always are apologizing to each other. Why, they when these new...
'Cause that's how it works, man.
But when these new Democratic, quote-unquote, unapologetic congresswomen were all getting elected, they didn't say, oh, we're going to back down. They were doing all this tough talk. And slowly but surely, one after another, they start backpedaling on this thing, backpedaling on that thing, backpedaling. I'm sorry, I'm going to offer an apology.
Because that's how it works.
What happened to all that unapologetic crap?
That's getting elected. That's not being in the House. The thing is, it's up to the House whip who speaks and for how long and when. They schedule all that shit. So you have to be careful. You can come in and be the darling for the first 2 weeks of the session, and then somehow you just never get to a microphone again. So, I mean, you know
what? And then when you don't get to the microphone, where do you go to the media?
The media won't cover you if it goes that far because they work together.
I mean, independent media.
Yeah, well,
you have to understand, you got these independent media that just kiss the Democrats' butts all day. Look at the Young Turks. If you're going to tell me that those guys are objective, you're talking to the wrong person. So no, I'm not saying they're objective. I'm saying they're 100% Democrat shills. But I'm saying if a Democrat gets in some stuff or something like that, places like that will play it. You know what I mean? Because
until they won't.
Because the big Democrats will shut it down.
That's right.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I mean, you have to play ball or you will be buried. And
but you look like a hypocrite to me.
Well, yeah. That's how the fucking town works, man.
Oh well. That's why I can't support any of these people.
I know, but I mean, you can have all the right ideas, but you just can't show up in the first session and think that your rules now apply. It just doesn't work that way. because they don't have a problem with making sure your 2 years are the only time you'll ever be there. They can take care of that quite easily amongst themselves. So, do you want to be a Roman candle, or do you want to stick around and find allies? Because that's the only way shit ever changes.
By the time they find allies, they end up like Bernie Sanders, a sold out loser.
Well, but that's,
with some good rhetoric.
But that's just it, though. When Sanders first got in, how many people were there who thought like him in the entire House? Under 10? There's been 10 elected this midterm. It's about numbers. And, the system's working exactly the way it's designed. So if you want to change the rules, you have to use the rules. I know it sucks, and I know it's counterproductive, but it's like that way for a reason. They don't, the people who made the system don't want it to change.
Yeah, that's why I said, why do these people run as a Democrat? Why do they run as, and you said that's the only way they get elected, but at the same time, now you're beholden to those parties and they can just shut you up like they did her. You're going to apologize to those white racists, or you're not going to be able to talk again, basically. That's crazy. That's crazy.
But that's how, quote unquote, democracy works.
I mean, they'll say lies, or they'll, like, when they say Trump, they'll never say Trump's bold-faced lie. They'll be like, he told some untrue statements. Call him a liar.
Well,
problematic. There's no, he's a racist. It's just, it's crazy.
Look at some of the historic filibuster speeches from the last 20 years that people remember. Most of the time, that was by somebody who wasn't running again. It's like, okay, this is my last big address to the Senate. I've got 18 months left before the election. That's it. Fuck this. That's usually when you see it, But
then it's too late.
It is too late, but at least they did it. How many of them wanted to do it for 20 years and still never had the balls? This is the thing. It's such a human factor, and nobody wants to look at it. I mean, the only people that really look at shit like this are the people going for their psych doctorates. They're the only ones that really give a shit about that, and it doesn't hold the viewership's attention, so nobody talks about it. But I mean, that's the thing that I really notice up here, the way our system works, the way people change over time. And it's not necessarily because they said, yeah, I should get rich, or yeah, this, or yeah, that. It's just when you're in that environment, you can relate it down to something as simple as me moving from one apartment to another apartment. There's things I don't have anymore, but now there's things I do have that I didn't have before. And, everything's in a different direction. The surroundings are different. I can't live like I lived at my old apartment I left, because now I'm here. So things will change. It's still me, but I can't do everything the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it really is that simple. I mean, anybody can go get elected once and piss everybody off, and they'll have no staff, and nobody will work for them, and they'll never get to speak. If that's what you want to do, fine, But you won't be there all that long. You guarantee you'll never change anything if you never know when to play by the rules.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I hate both parties.
Well, it's the game.
Like, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like if somebody said, I'm going to go run as independent, and my goal is to destroy both parties and change this whole dang system, I might go out and vote for them.
What,
you know what I mean?
Are you saying as president or what?
As anything. My goal is to destroy the system as it is, bring down both parties, shut down all this corporate crap, give the people all the power, and I'm not running as one of these parties because I'm against them, that would make sense to me. I'd be like, well, if we gotta have a system like this, I'm gonna go vote for this cat over here, this woman over here, whoever it is, and yeah, you'd actually get a vote from me. And there's probably other people like that too. Who knows? A majority of people don't vote, Glenn. So what if something like that would get the majority of people to go vote? Because they're so sick of all this stuff. They're like, why bother? I know we've talked. We don't want to go into. I'm just saying. Some people think like that. Like, it's so corrupt. Why would I vote for any of them? And
these are also the people that probably the total of their political intake is about 4 minutes a week.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, well, you do a hell of a lot more than 4 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. You don't think there's other people that are informed that just are sick of it and don't, like me? But
they're not anywhere near enough. The change you're talking about has happened before in the past, and it always happens the same way, with a fucking revolution. That's
I'm
the
down.
only
Let's
way.
get it going.
Well, I know, but, you are the extreme minority. Let's put it that way.
And you know who's more of an extreme minority than I am?
Who?
Billionaires.
Well, we hope.
There's more than 4,000 people that think like me, guaranteed.
Yes, I would say so.
So we win over the billionaires if
yeah.
In the perfect storm.
They're just gone. That's the perfect storm.
Billionaire flu. It only kills billionaires.
We were supposed to be talking about Cohen and how,
Oh, we went on a tangent. We're trying not to do that.
And if this is going to have a real effect, well, there's way too much of an eagerness out of the media to have all the answers right now. The shit like this doesn't work that way. I mentioned before the RICO statutes. The mob laws in the U.S. And you look at most of those cases where mob bosses or families end up in prison, those investigations take years. So, whatever Mueller's doing, there's been, more people sentenced already than, believe it or not, under 8 years of Clinton, under 8 years Obama combined. By far, this is the most crooked organization since the Reagan administration already. You just gonna have to wait, And Cohen has been a dirty fucking lawyer for decades. So I don't think he needs to be coached about what he can say and when he should say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'll end up on a stand again. Don't worry. And he may have new tidbits that we haven't heard about yet. But Mueller's heard them all. That's just how things go. It's going to be an interesting summer in D.C., I think, as far as this goes. I find it rather interesting that while the big deal about Cohen being on the stand took all the air out of the U.S. political news, funny how there was very little attention paid to Jared and Ivanka having a meeting with the Crown Prince, MBS. Isn't that interesting? On the same day. This guy who, had an American journalist murdered.
Jared is in a little bit of hot water because his stepfather demanded that they give him a security clearance that he wasn't going to get.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you said earlier about the RICO Act, they use that on gangs here in LA. They'll come with injunctions and say, you guys can't talk with each other. If more than so many of you are found in the same place at the same time, arrests will be made, all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to these rich, like the Trump, they don't do anything like that. It seems like they get so many special privileges because they're rich and in office, you know. And even before he was in office, it's ridiculous. Cohen, I mean, look at Roger Stone. He got raided, and it was so rough. They came and knocked on my door. It was horrifying. They do that for a dude that has some cocaine, or you know what I mean, or too much weed. They come in and kick in his door with grenades and the child's crib and stuff, you know? Yep. Like, so I don't want to hear it. And then Cohen's whole life is ruined. How many years is he going to do?
Oh, I don't even know. It's
like 3 or 10 or something. It's like people do so much more time for so much less than what these people are doing. And I'm almost 100% sure Trump is going to get away with everything. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I believe that's the case. I think whatever he does, worst case, he'll be impeached or resign. And then if there are crimes, he'll be pardoned for them.
Well, if he resigns before the end of his term, and whether it's Pence or somebody else, I mean, yeah, we could see a replay of the Ford-Nixon thing. I mean, you know.
Exactly. I mean, history repeats itself, right?
Yeah. But I mean, you know, that's a consequence of the network. That's how shit works. That's a whole nother issue, how wrong that is. But, you know, again, I mean, things suck so hard. Who would say no? Don't let Trump resign if he gets a pardon. Who would say that and be serious, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem when things are so out of fucking whack that any progress is progress. Can you afford to let it go by?
This is a sad state of affairs, though, in reality.
Yeah, it is. It sucks, man.
You know what Cohen said? I read an article about this and heard a couple brief little things in the media about it. He had mentioned that if Trump loses the 2020 election, he's not going to go peacefully, basically.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. We heard that about the midterms. We heard that about the migrant caravans. We heard that about a lot of things. And we ain't seen nothing.
We've seen some terrorist attacks from Trump's base.
You see that anyway.
Yeah, you're going to see that anyway, but they seem to ramp up with all the threats around the times when Trump or the Republicans seem to be in trouble. I mean, they have their own little ISIS army, this white ISIS army. No, I mean, they're not ISIS, they're MAGAs.
MAGA
terrorist group, just the same thing. Yeah, and they'll go crazy, you know, but I don't know. I don't think, does Trump have, as president, the power to call in some military or police to fortify the White House and attack anyone that's trying to put him out, or, you know what I mean? I don't know what his power limits are as president. Do you have any idea on that?
Well, as far as a direct threat within the District of Columbia, yeah, the president is pretty much top dog. The issue is who's going to follow his orders. That's always the issue.
You're impeached, you have to leave. And he's like, no, I'm calling the army.
Well, fine. You can call whoever the fuck you want. It doesn't mean they have to take your call. You know?
Yeah, because by then he's not technically the president anymore, even if he's in the White House, right?
Well, I mean, you know, you can say what you want about the Pentagon, but the people at the absolute top do believe that their job is to protect the nation according to its constitution from within and without. So if you ain't the president no more, we ain't fucking listening to you.
You don't think any of those top people would be MAGA whack jobs like some of their underlings are? Many of their underlings?
Well, if they are, the people in charge know exactly who they are. Because
Yeah.
like I said before, if you want to go up and have a military career, you're under a microscope for a lot of that time. And the higher up you go, the higher the focus. So, I mean, yeah, they have freaks. Of course they have freaks. Their job is to kill people. But they know who the freaks are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could be
Because
handled
I think of this
by,
lieutenant we had talked about that was gonna.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he was a lieutenant in the Coast Guard. So,
When I know, I was just saying, but there's got to be higher up people in different organizations, military, government that are the same kind of whack jobs. I'm just guessing. It's speculation on my part.
yeah, but what I'm saying is a lieutenant in the Coast Guard for that kind of instability, you're probably no higher than a drill sergeant in the Army or some sort of high-ranking
Mid-level.
midshipman in the Navy, or you're a senior airman in the Air Force, but you ain't flying no planes. I mean, Marine Corps, well, that's a whole nother story. They recruit different.
Psychos.
Well, I mean, it's a certain type of person who wants to be a United States Marine.
Psychos. Deranged maniacs. I don't know.
But I mean, as far as shit like the border goes, with Trump saying, I'm ordering X tens of thousands of National Guard. No, you're not. You're asking the governors of those states to release the troops to them. The National Guard is under the command of governors. It's not some extra paramilitary force for the president to draw on when he's constipated, and we've seen it. 2 states have revoked it and taken their troops back to their bases. So, again, there's a perpetual liar at the podium. So, of course, everything that has force behind it is his idea and his plan. Bullshit. You can't just pick up a phone and make shit happen like that. Otherwise, the United States would have been destroyed a long, long time ago.
Yep. Well, yeah, I don't know. I was just asking, like, I wonder if that was possible. Like,
No,
what's the worst thing he can do other than sending his whack jobs out to commit acts of terror? Like, if he can't call the whole military to protect him from being impeached, he's going to get kicked out regardless. They can go crazy in the streets. Oh, well. There's not enough of them to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, they can do some damage, but they're not going to destroy everything.
I think there's a certain amount of it that relates to just about everything we've seen publicly in the United States in the last few years. I mean, all these MAGA and neo-Nazis and Proud Boys and all this shit, they all talk a good game. But then when it's time to protest and they're outnumbered 10, 20, 50, 100 to 1, they're not so tough anymore.
Yeah, but they are kind of, I mean, they're tough behind the police line that's protecting them.
Well, that's just it, though. If you talk about MAGA terrorists, like something like San Bernardino or something like that, they're not going to be getting no backup from the cops, Because if you're shooting people, you're going to get shot. Or if you're white, you're going to be asked to surrender and taken into custody.
Be apprehended by Burger King.
But you know what I'm saying. I mean, there are limits. There is the public image of everything. And I mean, the cops may think they can do whatever they want, but for them to publicly do whatever they want is another line that I don't think they want to cross at this point in time. They don't want to give it up yet. And if there's some idiot who's killing innocent people, there's a serious public relations boost for the police to deal with it.
Yeah.
This is something else that never existed 30, 40 years ago. Police public relations departments having a say on major operations.
Yeah.
Media officers. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, these cops are so crooked, they need some good spin on their crimes.
They're just part of the corporate world, man, and they operate like any other corporation.
I'm not sure the whole story. It was recently, like last week, I had quickly read over it. It was a journalist or some media company had came across a list of crimes committed by officers that are still in the force, or write-ups, or like the records of these cops.
Mm-hmm.
And they were told it's illegal for them to even have that list.
Of course it is. It's about us.
I mean, think about that. These are people, quote-unquote public servants, that are paid for by tax dollars, that carry guns around in the streets and are allowed to murder people with impunity, and we can't know which ones have had criminal charges brought charges against them and all kinds of stuff at their work. That seems like really backwards.
Well, yeah, because you're not on the team. That's why.
Yeah. No, we need to know which of these gangbangers is the dangerous ones and which ones aren't. They have gang files on people in the streets. I was talking to someone the other day, don't remember who. Someone was saying there's literally babies that are born in LA that are on gang files the day they're born. Like, think about that.
Yeah, but the FBI was doing that to the Panthers and the MOVE people and civil rights activists too. So, I mean, this is nothing new. This is just the state. This is what they do.
Yeah.
Fuckers.
So, I don't know how we got all over here from Cohen. We took two major detours. Maybe we should move on. Anything else on Cohen?
It's, even though it won't have the desired impact or long-term effect that it should, I still enjoy seeing a lifelong piece of shit having to have everything taken from him. I still like that.
We all do. We all do, Glenn. So, moving on. Over the past 4 years, under both Republican and Democratic regimes, over 1,000 children were sexually abused in detention centers on the southern border. Many of them were abused by immigrant agents in these detention centers, or what I call concentration camps. This has just become a story recently, but it's been happening over 4 years now under both Obama and Trump. And nothing's been done about it. They keep saying, oh my gosh, I can't think the term he used, but basically he said no government officials have been caught doing this. But the thing is, most of these are privately run facilities, and they're not government officials, quote. So what he said basically was misleading. Like the spokesperson they talked to was trying to make it sound like it never happened or no one's ever been caught doing this. But he was saying only people that work for him haven't been caught. That didn't include the people who are private contractors and all these other places. You know what I mean? So they're already trying to put a spin on this to make it seem less horrible than what it actually is.
Well, this is just shirking all responsibility with legal mumbo jumbo. This is, and again, when I heard about this, the first thing I thought was, okay, so this is about private prisons. That's all this is about. And with the rise in the last generation of corporations are people too, once you privatize these prisons, you lose a big factor in end-of-the-road responsibility for human rights abuses and crime. You know, I mean, it's just like this old story that comes up maybe once every couple years about all the drugs in the prisons. Gee, I wonder how they get there. You know,
Yeah.
like, give me a break. They've created a enclosed market. They can decide what drugs people become addicted to and what they charge for them and who gets them and who doesn't and who pays in what manner. So that's abusing adults, quote unquote. Now you take that down to children who are seized at the border and separated. This is about the most helpless group of humanity I can think of. And, you know, I mean, this has come up in the past too. It comes up everywhere when there's an event to bring it to the forefront. I mean, I can remember the thing, well, we're seeing it in the U.S. now about coaches sexually abusing young athletes. We've seen it with school bus drivers. We see it nonstop in the church. We see it everywhere. So, you know, this is another thing. When you have public prisons, the people you hire, you're responsible for them. When you issue a contract to a corporation to run a facility, that's on them. They're supposed to have the rules. They're supposed to enforce it. And when it happens, because you know it is happening, but when it goes public, well, what the fuck? They blew their contract. And that's the extent of it, you know? That's why you get a press release like you described.
Yeah. I have a Republican solution to this. We could just arm all the children in the detention centers.
But they're not American citizens.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I was trying to think, what would a Republican do? And it would be like, give them guns. And then I said, wait, children wrongfully detained, giving them guns could be a really good thing.
Well, then we would see this MS-13 thing blow up again, and that's about it.
Yeah, they'd all be, as soon as they get, here's a gun, your MS-13, yeah.
Yep. They probably give them guns with MS-13 on them.
Your official MS-13 memorable, I can't even speak.
Yep. But I mean, you know, that's the immediate thing I thought about this. It's all about the money. And again, how many of these centers are under direct federal control? How many of them have a lot to do with the state governments? And that means Arizona. That means New Mexico. That means Texas. You know, not exactly Washington State. Let's put it that way. Not exactly California.
Yeah, because some of the people that work in the states you just mentioned don't view these kids as humans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how their state governments get elected. That's a part of the conversation. So when the state government is involved with who's getting the contracts and what the rules are, you know, they're just taking the money from Washington, taking their skim, and then paying the contractor. And no news is good news. Ching, ching.
Yeah. Man.
You know, I mean, you know, it's just like you see somebody every once in a while somewhere around the world say, holy fuck, why are there so many people incarcerated in the United States? Apparently, you don't know.
Ka-ching.
Yeah, you don't know the industry. Because you're not going to have all these contracts for prisons if you can't fill them. It just doesn't work that way.
Criminalize everything, even things that aren't crimes. We talked about that earlier with the homeless thing. It's more beneficial to have people in prison than to help them.
Yeah, because somebody that we know is making money.
Exactly.
But I mean, what's going to be done about this? Probably next to nothing.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, where's the incentive?
Well, you got to think too. If we've heard over 1,000 kids have been abused, that number's probably it's probably way higher. If we heard 2 kids have died, I'm sure it's way higher than that. The thing, because these kids are untraceable. A lot of them, they've stolen them from their families. They don't know where they take them. They don't keep records on a lot of it.
On purpose.
Yeah, and I'm saying it just opens it up where a lot of terrible things and atrocities can take place and nobody would ever know for a while.
Or ever. That is a possibility.
That is a possibility.
I mean, we've seen it before with the treatment of Indigenous people in Canada and the United States. With the residential schools in Canada for over 30 years. Many of these schools have graveyards behind the school.
Yeah.
All these little white crosses. And these are Native children that aren't Christian.
Yeah, they took a lot of Native children and put them into schools to learn to act white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's all this is a rehashing of that. Yeah. Because I'm sure we've all heard the reports. They're forcing the kids to say the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. It's just all this brainwashing going on. It's
indoctrination.
Exactly, and these are kids, and it's like, I would say if you're hell bent on taking kids from their families and putting them in some kind of center, why not make it like a cool, something where they can try to have fun, why not have like,
that's not about them though,
where they can have an education, have a good time, make it like something, I don't know, but make it like it's beneficial, and people would say, oh, well, that's not so bad, I might actually want to go there. If you're gonna do that, they're kids, they didn't do anything wrong. Why torture them like that? Give them an amusement park kind of atmosphere if you're hell-bent on doing that. Or better yet, just give them back to their families and let them wait on their date in court and live their lives however they want. Free and happy in the United States until whatever.
But that's got nothing to do with the real purpose of it. So that's not going to happen. Their humanity is being taken. They are property. They are an asset. That's what they are. They're being stolen, and they're being told what they are. And if they don't play ball, things aren't going to work out.
I don't know. It just seems to me that, maybe we need 60, 70,000 people to start heading down.
Giving a fuck?
Well, first off, yeah, but then heading down to some of these quote-unquote detention centers and just forcefully freeing everybody.
Well, I mean, we did see it for a while.
Coming with vans, like, we're going to find out where your families are. We're going to take you somewhere safer, better than here. If we can't find your family, you're not going to be in a prison. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like you have enough people, you could break anyone out of anything. You just have to outnumber them. Like that just seems like it makes sense to me. Like, you want these private prisons for children, we're going to come and tear your prison to shreds. We're going to come by force, and we're going to free everybody out of here. And we're going to lock your guards away in there until you're found whenever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. But the biggest factor is I look in the public's quiver of fucks, and it is empty.
It's negative. The negatives.
Yeah, it owes some fucks, never mind having any on hand. I mean, that's the issue.
We can just
People-
accomplish so much if we get out there and force together.
People don't give a shit.
Yeah, people are scared too. I remember down south we were like, there was this big giant protest. We outnumbered everybody, the whole town. We outnumbered the police. We outnumbered everything. And a bunch of us like, storm the courthouse, free the people, storm the courthouse. And you had all these groups who had the megaphones and mics. No, we're not here for violence. We're here because these people are in this little stupid courthouse that's in this little hillbilly nothing town. We can tear it down with our hands and go in there and free the people that's locked under there. There's 60,000 of us. There's not even 100, 200 police. You know what I mean? No, let's just go in there until you get them out. No, we're not here for that. We're here to raise bail.
See, these people are what's known as reformers. In my opinion, anytime you hear the word reform, it's time to tune out, because all reform is the same shit with a new coat of lipstick.
But that's when I knew something that day, though, man. When we started screaming, storm the courthouse, free the people, them cops that was in front of the courthouse looked terrified. I've never before or after seen cops that looked that scared. They shoved all the black cops up to the front of the line, and they were terrified. We're like, go through them all. The black cops is with us or they against us. We going in. And then you get these people on the mics. No, stop. We're here for peace. How is that not peaceful? Freeing somebody wrongfully in prison is peaceful to me, right?
Yeah, but see, the people on the megaphones, they're the ones who, when they get pulled over for drunk driving by one of those cops, wants to get let go.
Yeah.
It's sad, but I mean, that's what it's come to.
I'm like, we could have won. There's a lot of times like that I've seen. I've seen us have cops surrounded looking terrified because they was about to arrest some dude for nothing, and they would have let him go. But then again, you got the people, no, back off. We're going too far. You don't want to hurt them. What are you talking about? And then you're outnumbered already because all the people ain't really with you. There's 3 or 4 real people in there, and everybody else starts moving back when it gets real. You know.
And pull out their phone.
What?
And pull out their phone.
Yeah. Well, some of this was before everyone had cameras on their phones. You know.
Yeah.
And some of it wasn't. But either way. Who cares? They're not going to come and arrest 60,000 people. How are they going to do that?
Apathy killed democracy.
Their sniper can't kill 60,000 people. These cops had no chance if we would have attacked and just went through them. They would have to move out the way or get run over. But
see, no, this is the difference. You look at a place like Gaza, where people basically willingly risk their lives every Friday when they go within 300 meters of the fucking fence.
Yeah.
You know, they know the price, but they also know their right.
Exactly.
That's the difference, you know? And does the U.S. have to turn into that kind of authoritarianism before people are willing to stand up? I don't know.
We've been getting there slowly but surely, our whole history. But yeah, you had Reagan start pushing it forward real fast with the Bush kept doing it. Clinton, Obama, now Trump, you know, that's it's been like heading toward that kind of full-fledged fascism, walls and curfews and stuff.
No,
it's just people aren't gonna see it until it's here.
Well, I mean,
go ahead, what?
How did Gaza happen? Because the rest of the world didn't fucking care.
Exactly.
So guess what's going to happen in your own backyard someday?
Yep. I'm just wondering what's wrong with Canada, man.
Well, could you be more specific?
Why haven't you come and bombed the American government and freed the people? I've been
That's
waiting
funny.
on this and it hasn't happened. And I keep watching the news like any minute now, Canada's coming. But you don't come.
Like, don't hold your breath, eh?
Oh, man. Oh, but what I'm saying, what?
Just like Canada was so willing to host the Lima group to talk about how righteous they are to invoke a coup in Venezuela, like that kind of stand-up Canada. Fuck.
Yeah, I guess. Canada's not the beacon of hope I thought it was.
What that comes down to is Canada wants a seat back on the UN Security Council. So you don't say no to Secretary of State Mike Pompous when he wants to have this dumb fucking meeting to approve a coup. That's the bottom line there. Canada's playing ball like a good, reliant, middle-level nothing.
Yep. I don't know, man. It just seems like we can get so much done if the people stick together and say we're not taking this. And, people usually get all mushy over children suffering, but seems like that's not even enough in this situation. Maybe they only get mushy about white children suffering.
Well, I mean, the issue is, a long time ago, before this story came out, it had already been disseminated that, like you said, these illegal, so-called illegal immigrants are subhuman. So that, and it's like anything else. When you use that kind of terminology, they're lesser, and it's just like you can go all the way back to the psychological connection of like raid commercials on TV. Cockroaches. Look at all the little ones. Kill the little ones. It's the same goddamn principle. But it's being applied to people.
Yeah. I mean, he did say it was in quote unquote infestation.
There you go.
Yeah, it's, I guess that's what you have to do is dehumanize people.
Yep.
But I'm just like, how much worse does it have to get before people? I kind of think there's going to have to be like people getting let off to death for going against the government and camps and curfews, like we said before. I think once that all happens and people say, "Oh, we're fascists now, we got to fight," it's too late by then.
That's
Y'all
right.
just sitting back waiting for it to happen.
It is happening.
Well, here's the other thing we said. Like, what's going to happen is, we've said this many times on the show. The next person that comes in office is going to be the savior. They'll be able to get away with the most evil, terrible stuff. And few current, previous presidents have all, starting with the Patriot Act, the NDAA, Trump's signing of the national emergency thing, and all the, all this stuff is giving him or her, whoever the next president is, and then run after that more and more power. We're going to be able to do heinous things, but right after Trump, people are going to be hailing him as a hero.
Yeah.
Anybody,
but,
doesn't matter. It could be some evil person, man, woman, doesn't matter the race. They're going to be doing the most horrible stuff, and they'll be beloved like Obama. He's not remembered for drones and bank bailouts and all the horrible stuff, slaughtering brown people overseas. Every campaign promise was a lie. Substandard health care. Just because it's better than what you had doesn't mean it's what we need. You know what I mean? We need free health care. We pay taxes. We need less military, more health care. But regardless of that, he's remembered as the greatest president ever. And, imagine what this next guy, and that's just because he came after Bush. Imagine the guy or woman that comes after Trump.
That's just it. That's today. That don't mean shit. It's today. That's today's definition of them. But as I've said before, power is never ceded. I mean, we've seen this in Canada over the last 30, 40 years. The way our system works, the Prime Minister's office is the equivalent of the White House. And over the last couple generations, the Prime Minister's office has become the most powerful single source of power in Ottawa. And it was never supposed to be that way. And every prime minister in waiting has criticized the power of the prime minister's office. But yet when they get control of that prime minister's office, they don't give any power back. They try to get even more. I mean, that's just how it works. The only way power is given up is it's taken away. It's always worked that way, and it always will. So, yeah, anybody who wants to bitch and complain about all the power that the presidency has, yeah, what exactly are you going to do to change that? Yep. Probably nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because if it's your power, well, the dynamic is slightly altered, shall we say.
Yeah, that's why I often think to myself that anyone that I would think would make a good president would never want to run or become a president. So
exactly. No, that's true. That's absolutely true. How come the good people don't run for office anymore? Pfft. Seriously? Because they don't want to become
anymore is my question. Did they ever?
They don't want to become who you have to be to fit into that world.
Yeah. Some people just don't want to rule over others, and politicians, and especially in this country, they're not people that serve others, they're people that exploit others.
Yeah, exactly. They're people that are there for tasks that aren't related to their constituents.
Bingo. So yeah, anything else about the kids?
It's obscene.
Oh, it is. But like I said, one person, 10 people can go down there and get arrested or killed. Tens of thousands could go down there. Hundreds of thousands could go down to these places and free people. And some of us have these places kind of within 2 hours from us, hour from us, half an hour from us. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Why can't we? I don't know. We need to kick this off somehow. Just we need people. We need bodies out there. We need dedicated people say no more. We're going to end this before it gets really bad, because it's bad enough already. And I'm just not seeing these people just want to wait. They want to be locked away in camps. They want to have their voices taken more than they already are. They want to have all this terrible stuff happen before they even think of, oh, we should have rose up. How come nobody told us 10 years ago this was the thing to do? People been screaming at you, don't be listening. So yeah.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I don't really, there's so many excuses about we didn't know. Bullshit. There's no excuse in the 21st century for anybody. If something's bothering them where they live, there's no reason they can't find out in this day and age. Absolutely none.
Yeah. Yeah, really. We're the
no reason at all.
We have the internet.
No, it doesn't even have to do with that. Even if you don't get answers, if you get told to go away, isn't that telling you something right there?
Yep.
But then, oh shit, that means more work. Yeah, fuck it. Idle's on. That's the thing.
Yeah, people love their celebrities and rich people. I don't know why. I don't quite get it, but they care about what they wear. They care about what they do. They care about where they go. They care about what their kids is wearing. It's insanity. I don't care about any of this, but it's always on my feed somewhere. Somebody talking about this celebrity, that, this celebrity, that.
Okay, right now, I'm looking at the top 10 Canada trends on Twitter. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. 4 out of the 10 are celebrity related. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are sports related. and one of them is a member of parliament who will not be seeking re-election.
It's important stuff right there.
There you go. So, I mean, you wonder why shit's fucked up. Look what people care about. Stuff that makes absolutely no difference one way or another in their own lives.
Yeah, before we go, I just want to, unrelated, just to the person on Twitter that said the Democrats and Republicans, saying Democrats and Republicans are alike is an old fallacy and could easily be disproven. I asked them to prove this a day and a half ago, and I'm still waiting. So, I'm waiting for you to prove it. I just anytime now.
Well, their assholes wear red ties. Our assholes wear blue ties.
Well, this was a Canadian that told me they could prove it, so I'm waiting. I know it takes longer. Knowing you know how when you send me a tweet, it takes 3 days because you're in another country to get to me. So I'm figuring that's the case, right?
Fuck.
Yes, the delay has to go through customs each tweet. No, just it's funny people say stuff and then don't back it up. I hate that. But anyway, I guess we're gonna end this. So yeah, the View Up Here next Wednesday on BTR. What is it, Glenn? The viewuphere.ca is the website.
Yes.
The viewuphere.ca. Next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And definitely check that out. And we'll be back next week. Same time, same place. peoplesradiounited.com. Also, youtube.com/peoplesradiounited. Like I said before, subscribe to our channel, please, and hit the bell so you get our notifications. We're going to have a lot of new videos coming, plus our shows always go over there. So thanks again to everyone who's listening. Thank you, Glenn, and we'll talk to you next week.